Hi, I'm Lindsey Deluce.
And I'm Teddy Wilson.
And I'm Kelsey McEwen.
Welcome to CTV Your Morning, the podcast.
Okay, today on the pod, we've got actress Lilyjames, author Cheryl Diamond, plus two actual dragons. That's right, Arlene Dickinson and Michele Romanow are on the show to chat about, get this, the 20th season of Dragon's Den.
We appreciate having you with us today. You can join us live every weekday, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 10 a.m. Atlantic on CTV, CTV News Channel, and the CTV News app. We have a lot of great conversations coming up. Kelsey sat down with actor Lilyjames. Our producer Mike traveled to the 4th Canadian Division Training Centre in Meaford, Ontario, for a closer look at the technologies our military is leaning on to keep our country safe. And soon you'll hear my conversation with Arlene Dickinson and Michele Romanow. I cannot believe Dragon's Den is celebrating 20 seasons.
I can't either. Listen, so much has changed in how people sell their products now compared to, when the show first started.
Yeah, the show is a legacy now, but have you guys ever tried to get a product off the ground or even a business? Or how about seeing an ad for a product that you swear you had the idea first? I'm like the least entrepreneurial person on earth, but it's one of the reasons I really like watching Dragon's Den.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You and I have talked about this. I'm always surprised when you say that, because that's like my other life.
Yeah, you're quite entrepreneurial.
Yes.
Both of you, yeah.
Yeah, multiple things off the ground.
I don't know, I just feel like I'm a buyer. You want to sell me something? I am your market audience, especially if it's late at night and it's an ad that pops up on social media.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sucked in.
Especially when you get two if you order in the next 5 minutes.
Oh my God, buy one, get one free.
Gotta order fast.
That's right.
Listen, here's Lindsey's conversation with Arlene and Michele.
The show, loved by entrepreneurs and aspiring business owners across the country, is celebrating a pretty big milestone.
Ahoy, Dragons!
Oh, look at that.
I'm actually quite terrified right now.
Lean back.
No fear, you can do it. Get it, brother!
Oh, here's some highlights. That's right, Dragon's Den is marking its 20th season. Can you believe it? 20 seasons. Canada's longest running reality show is back, bringing in new businesses and your favorite dragons. Longtime dragons and businesswomen Arlene Dickinson and Michele Romanow join us this morning. Good morning to both of you. I was just saying off camera, can you believe it's been 20 seasons?
It's like a Canadian heritage moment.
It really is. It really is.
This show renews itself every single season because you see what's happening in the economy, everyone that's building around to fix that. I mean, we saw AI companies this year, we saw protein put in every type of food this year. And so it's really exciting for us because every year it's a totally different show.
Yeah, and I think about, when you've been on for 20 seasons and you've been 11 seasons, Arlene, you've been, 17 seasons?
17.
Yeah. When you think about how the business pitches have evolved and the businesses have evolved over the years, what's the biggest change that you've seen when you first started, Arlene, to now?
Oh, when we first started, we would get smaller businesses. People really didn't know the dragons very well, so they would pitch to all of us. Now they're more sophisticated businesses. They're later stage. They know who they want to talk to on the show. They come on specifically to get Michele or to get Wes or whatever. And their pitches are so much more polished. But the same thing is true. They still have big dreams and they want to get capital.
What are you looking for, Michele? What makes a great pitch or a great business idea?
Timing is a lot, so it's what is the economy ready for at this moment in time. But ultimately, it's always the resilience of a founder. I think what I know from both of us, from every good founder that we backed, is that they're never successful on their first try or their first idea. They're iterating their way through tons of different failures before they finally get something that works. And so when we see people that have lived through business struggles, personal struggles, it makes it very believable that they will keep building something even when times get really tough.
You've been there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You've been there as
Both of us
entrepreneurs.
have.
Yeah, exactly. And when you invest in these businesses, you're not just providing the funds and money, but you're also obviously providing your expertise, your wisdom. Why is having a mentor or guide just so important in the process?
When you're building a business, it's a very lonely enterprise. It's a very lonely thing. You can get in your head, you can get stuck, and you haven't seen everything. And sometimes you're literally on the fly figuring out how to build the plane while you're flying it. And that's generally what happens to entrepreneurs. They get stuck in their heads. And so having a mentor, somebody who's done it before, who is prepared to help them, can make the difference between losing money or making money, moving ahead quickly or staying behind, because you didn't figure it out fast enough. So I think it's really important to have somebody who's got business experience around you.
And someone who can calm you down.
Yes.
The first time you wear a suit as a founder, it is the scariest thing in the world. You then get on the phone with someone who's done this for 25 years and they're like, congratulations, you've made it. You're worth suing. So, and again, you never want that to happen in business, but a conflict is an inevitable part of becoming big in a space. And so I just think about all of these mentors I had early on and the founders that, call me and they're like, is everything gonna be okay? And I'm like, actually, it's been much worse. This is how to do it. And then that is, I think, what we really try and give the founders that we back is that calmness and the playbook so they don't have to make the same mistakes. At least I wasted a lot of time making.
Michele and Arlene, thank you both so much. Congratulations.
Late ADHD diagnoses are on the rise, especially among adult women who spent decades struggling in silence. According to the National Library of Medicine, prevalence rates for women and girls rose to 7.5% in 2021. In her memoir, Nowhere Girl, Life as a Member of ADHD's Lost Generation, Canadian author Carla Ciccone tells her own story, from years of self-doubt to a late-in-life diagnosis that changed everything. Carla is in studio with us this morning. Man, I feel like there's a lot of women going, me too.
Yeah.
Take me back to your diagnosis. It was at the beginning of the pandemic. You had just become a new mom.
Yes.
How did this information change your life?
It completely changed my life. I was just riddled with anxiety, and that's what I thought I was struggling with. But then to find out that it was actually ADHD just put my entire life into perspective and gave me a chance to sort of forgive myself for things I couldn't do as well as other people.
What did your doctor made them test for ADHD?
It was actually a therapist, and she wasn't sure because ADHD can sometimes mimic other disorders, so she wasn't sure if it was complex post-traumatic stress disorder or ADHD. So I had to go see a psychiatrist, and the assessment was like a 2-hour-long kind of grueling process, and they go all the way back to your school days and ask you how you did back then. So some of it was quite hard to remember, but we got there.
In the book, you talk about getting this diagnosis as just the beginning of your journey. And on top of relearning yourself, you're also learning about different types of ADHD, because there's at least 3, and how it shows up in boys versus girls. Can you tell people what you learned?
Yes, absolutely. So boys typically present as a more hyperactive type of ADHD, so they're more externalizing their symptoms. Girls usually have inattentive ADHD. And that's a bit of a misnomer because it doesn't mean you can't pay attention. It's just you struggle with how to deploy your attention. And that kind of has a more internal chaos vibe, like you're daydreaming and you're not paying attention to the teacher, but you look like you are, so nobody really notices anything is wrong. And the longer that goes on, it kind of contributes to this sense of shame that you're not keeping up with your peers and you're different, but you don't know why, and it can have pretty bad consequences.
Well, that shame spiral can lead to a lot of things, including clinical depression in some cases. A lot of the women you interviewed were also diagnosed later in life, often when they become mothers. Why do people go and get tested at that point in their life, women in particular?
I think it's because it's any time your life goes through a big change and your supports that you had in place that you didn't realize were accommodations are no longer there, and you're kind of just going off the rails. So anytime there's a graduation or motherhood or perimenopause, these big changes in our lives can sometimes lead women to getting diagnosed.
Anything that takes you out of the regular track of being able to do things and to manage. For people who are watching right now and think, you know what, that might be me. They've been struggling for years. What's your advice?
Well, my first advice is always to be gentle with yourself and to acknowledge that this is something that you were up against and nothing that you did wrong. And then navigating the healthcare system can be quite tricky. So talk to your doctor. If your doctor doesn't know a whole lot about that, you're going to need to talk to another one. It's kind of like you have to become your own advocate and figure it out.
You have on here, find a qualified specialist. Listen, if you go online right now, there's a lot of people who claim to be either a specialist or an ADHD coach, but what qualifications should people look for?
Well, I mean, to do a proper assessment, you need a psychiatrist, which is tricky because they can.
It's a long wait list.
Yeah, it's a long wait list if you go through our system, our healthcare system, and they can be tricky to find. But there are some really great ADHD coaches. I think it's just a matter of, do you vibe with them, and are they going to offer you a benefit, right?
The book is a really interesting read, not only because you share so intimately your personal story, but also the research that you found as well, as you were figuring this out for yourself as an adult. Carla, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
The wars in Ukraine and Gaza, along with comments from the U.S. administration about annexing Canada, really raising questions about how we can defend our own country on our own. With 3 coasts and the second largest landmass in the entire world, it's a pretty tall order. So as part of our series that looks at how Canada can be more self-sufficient, we sent our producer, Michael Hiscock, to find out what needs to be done to keep Canada safe in an increasingly hostile world.
The 4th Canadian Division Training Centre in Grey County, Ontario, first opened to train troops for the Second World War. Today, these regular force members are simulating battle over an open field.
Canadians are known for our expertise in training. When I first saw the initial attacks go in by Russia and then some of the Ukrainian footage coming out from the war space, I could see clearly, without question, troops that had been trained by Canadians. And history has proven it was effective. They were able to stop the attack basically dead in its tracks.
I'll say this about Canada, we don't always have the newest and greatest and shiniest equipment, but what we have is solid tactics. We have courage, we have impetus, we have the ability to drive and advance on the enemy when we're under fire, and we've proven effective in doing that through all the conflicts we've been involved in.
But that shiny new equipment might be coming.
Along with our NATO allies, we committed to NATO's new defense pledge of investing 5% of our annual GDP in the next decade.
The only question now is, what do we spend all that new money on? One of the things the Prime Minister is eyeing in both Germany and South Korea is something you can't always see: submarines.
Having submarines means that your allies have to cooperate with you in terms of sharing intelligence about where submarines are.
Paul Mitchell is a professor at the Canadian Forces College in Toronto who specializes in naval warfare.
Of all the weapon systems that the Canadian Forces currently operates, it is probably the one thing that we have that really does have a massive strategic impact. Great example of this is from the 1990s turbot crisis. The Spanish Navy was sending over corvettes and frigates in order to support its overseas fleet, which were fishing off the nose and tail of the Grand Banks. The Canadian government replied that there just might be a submarine in the area, keeping an eye on things, and the Spanish Navy actually pulled back. So that kind of asset in the hands of the Canadian Forces is something that's really, really important when you're not really sure about how great powers are going to be treating you.
But there's one pretty big drawback.
Conventional subs don't move very fast. They stay underwater, they're mostly weapons of position, so not a lot of range. But with Canada, range is everything. If we want them to go up to the Arctic, that's a 3-week trip from Halifax or Esquimalt to get into the patrol position.
Defending a country as large as Canada requires the ability to respond rapidly to threats. That means looking up at what we can put in the sky.
To see the sort of innovation that the Ukrainians have had in terms of driving for drone warfare, for example, I think that's the sort of thing that a robust industrial sector like we enjoy with the aviation industry would be able to bring to the table.
Canada is home to a highly competitive aerospace sector that makes us a leader in autonomous flight technologies, and advancements in defense are coming from places you wouldn't expect.
We obviously love the work that we do. I can show you inside here. And in the cockpit, we replaced the right-hand side. There are a very small number of entities around the world that have anything close to fully autonomous flight capabilities, and we are certainly helping to push the limits on that. So this aircraft here is a modified Cessna 150, very popular fixed-wing airplane, and it's one of a few different fixed-wing airplanes that we have that are what we call optionally piloted. So it's been modified such that it can fly in an autonomous, remotely piloted fashion without anybody on board.
Jeremy Wang is the Chief Operating Officer at Ribbit, an autonomous aircraft company based in Burlington, Ontario.
If you look at the shifting geopolitical landscape, I think Canada and other countries are realizing that many of these remote regions are significant. In recent years, we've seen increased activity in the Arctic. There's concerns that with climate change, that will open up new economic opportunities and new forms of competition in the north. And so we want to be able to resupply the communities that are living there year-round, as well as resupply any Canadian government entities that also need to protect those areas. I think we just need to have a more open discussion around what are the areas that we want to be strong in versus what are the areas that we want to rely on allies for.
That's a question that isn't lost on our troops.
Okay, bring it in.
This is baby steps, what we saw today, and this is going to advance for these candidates as they go through iterations over the next few days of this. We're in the business of getting people prepared. We're in the business of teaching resiliency.
That's so interesting. We're in the business of getting people prepared, but getting this country prepared. Producer Mike is in studio with us right now. You talked about subs and you talked about the autonomous aircraft. What else do we have in the pipeline right now in terms of new technology?
Yeah, so autonomous aircraft are pretty interesting on their own, but the next iteration of that is going to be what we call collaborative autonomy. And so the Navy's working on something right now that illustrates that point fairly well. So they're developing these autonomous, they're basically kamikaze boats. They'll send out a drone over the water, and the drone then finds a target, and then the boat is dispatched to find the target, and then it rolls up alongside of it and detonates. And so the holy grail that the military is working towards is building a fleet of land, air, and sea-based autonomous crafts that can work together to take territory, to carry out strikes, to carry out rescue missions, all with very limited human involvement.
When we think about our military and our capabilities, Canada does feel like a small fish in a really big pond when you're looking at countries like Russia or the US and what they have, right? So even with these subs and aircraft, at the end of the day, how are we expected to stand up to forces like that?
When it comes to the United States, the good news on that front is that our militaries are so integrated. We share tactics, we share training, we share intelligence. We're involved with NORAD, NATO, probably the Golden Dome missile defense system. It would be strategically unusual for the US to disrupt all of that for themselves by deciding to do something like attacking us. And so most of the experts I spoke to seem to agree that our best defense against the United States in particular may very well be to just continue working with them. Mm-hmm. For everybody else, we have two major things working for us. One of them is our geography, our landmass, makes us a very difficult country to occupy or hold for any extended period of time. And the other one, as you saw in this piece, is the training of our troops. So it's really easy to buy fancy, shiny new military equipment if you have the means to do so, but developing an effective training regimen is much more difficult and time-consuming. So having that base of highly skilled troops right now gives us the ability to ramp up the capabilities of our military very quickly. And we actually already did that in the Second World War. We entered into that conflict, for example, with a very small navy, and by the end of the war had the third largest navy in the world. We were, at the end of the Second World War, a major military power. And with the right leadership and management, there's no reason to think we wouldn't be able to do the same thing today.
All right, so Mike, you're a fantastic producer. This is an excellent segment that you put together, but I'm curious, when you were shooting the piece at the training center in Meaford, you spoke with our troops, both on and off camera. What was your biggest takeaway from those convos?
Just before I get into that, Teddy, I saw in your Instagram post that your brother is in the military. Is that right?
He's retired now, but he is a veteran, yeah.
Okay, well, I extend my thanks to him and everybody else who serves in the armed forces.
Thank you for that.
For that drill, we were given permission to observe it from different angles. And so in that field, the first wave that went in, we more or less just followed them from behind as they made their way across. But when the second wave went through, we actually went further out and watched as the soldiers made their way towards us, essentially taking on the perspective of the enemy that they were fighting. And Canadian soldiers had long been known for their skills around fire and movement, and you could really start to see that take shape from that particular angle because this field turned into this lethal game of whack-a-mole. So you would see in this tall grass a head would pop up and it would fire off a few shots and then it would disappear again, and then somewhere else in the field another head would come up and fire off a few more. And every single time one head went down and another one came up, they would be closer to you than they were before.
Wow.
And so just the look of that is intimidating enough on its own, but as you watch it unfold, you also get a sense of the fact that the Canadians who are hiding under the grass also have a role, because every time someone sticks their head out, there is somebody else covering that person. So even if you are the enemy and you happen to be aiming at the right place at the right time, there is someone waiting in the wings, more or less ready to take you out.
Fascinating. Thanks for all this, Mike.
Anytime.
You're listening to Your Morning, the podcast, where we bring you some of the best conversations from our show every week. Join us live on CTV every weekday, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 10 a.m. Atlantic on CTV, CTV News Channel, or the CTV News app.
We know cold and flu season is right around the corner. And did you know AI can help you prepare, from scheduling appointments to tracking flu outbreaks in your area? Family physician Dr. Vera Cahoot is here to tell us how tech can help you stay healthy. It's great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what is a platform that we can use to track what's happening in our area so we know what kind of outbreaks are out there?
Right. So Flu Watch is a platform that is being used to track the passage of respiratory illnesses across the country. And when you become a flu watcher, which you can be, simply by logging in and answering questions on a weekly basis, basically what will happen is you'll get a little email. It'll ask you whether you have any symptoms, a cough, a fever. And so all of that data is put in, and we can have some sense of what's happening across the country. And that's a really interesting way of really checking out your area. For example, going in and saying, oh, what's happening in my area? Is there lots of flu here? And what is it that maybe I should do?
That's amazing. What about, what's your stance on chatbots? Do you find them helpful, or as a physician, do you find it not helpful?
No, chatbots are helpful. So it depends a little bit on how you use them. So if you want to know more information about symptoms, that's terrific. If you want to have a little bit of an idea of some of the things that you can do to prevent yourself from being ill, that's really great. If you want to know, for example, what's happening in your area, if you want to know, then you can use things like Flu Watch. If you want to have some understanding of what some of the treatments might be, if you want to know where you might get immunizations for the flu vaccine, yeah, they're really great for that.
Okay, so specific uses.
Yes.
If you're trying to go and get an answer of what your symptoms mean in terms of a diagnosis, go see a doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
So there are also AI-driven booking systems.
Yeah.
Check this out.
Hello there. You've reached the Riverside Family Medical Center. This is Amy. How can I help you today?
Hi, I'm calling to book an appointment with Dr. Chu.
Sure, I'd be happy to help you.
So what you're listening to right now, this is an AI-powered voice agent system called Strello. So how can something like this help both patients and doctors during flu season?
So Strello is really interesting because as an AI-assisted receptionist or administrator, what it does is that it can handle an innumerable number of calls. So you're never put on hold. That's really great. I mean, if you think of it as a patient, you're putting, hello, doctor's office, stop, and then that's it. This never happens on Strello. So that's really great from a client perspective and also from a physician. What also happens is it can be helpful in booking appointments. It can be helpful in answering some administrative questions. It can be available to send in a prescription. It can be able to answer some basic questions about the next appointment. It can send reminders. So it's really useful from that perspective, from a patient. And from a physician perspective, it does something that is really common, and that is most of us still pick up the phone. We like that human interface. Well, it's not really human, but it's humanoid, and because it sounds very real and it sounds pleasant and it never loses its temper and it's always very, very kind, it's a really nice way of engaging and actually having a conversation about something that you might need to access care.
This sounds like an upgrade from the automated voice messaging answering systems of the past, where you'd be like, 4, 4, 4. Sounds like it's got a little more of the finesse to it.
Yes, and you're not going to be on for it. It's just going to pick up. It's going to start speaking to you right away.
Okay. Is there anything that you would recommend to be cautious of if we are trying to use platforms that integrate a little more technology when it comes to our health?
Yes, I think there's a few things. First of all, I think when you realize that it's not a diagnostic site, it's a site for getting information. It also may not always be really up-to-date and accurate. Understand that it's programmed to give information. So if data is changing, if information is changing very quickly, it may not be necessarily totally up-to-date. That's pretty important. The bases, the information bases, aren't always that great for pediatrics. And when we're getting into things like flu season or respiratory season, the databases are better for adults than they are for children, and so that's important to know. Also, really understand that if you want to know what's going on and you're not sure what's going on, ask someone who is a health professional. You can ask for some basic symptoms, but don't ask it to make a decision for you. The decision really has to be based on you gathering enough information and speaking to someone who's in the know, or at least go to sites where you know that the information is really well vetted, and do that.
Okay, I appreciate it. It's just one of many tools out there that can help us, and we have to treat it as
Yes,
such.
absolutely.
Okay,
It's a wonderful tool.
Amazing. Doctor, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks, it was great.
2 in every 5 Canadians will be diagnosed with cancer at some point in their life. And today we are seeing more young people getting this diagnosis. And that includes our next guest, Erica Howe, a PWHL goaltender, a trailblazer in women's hockey, and a woman who was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 32. Erica is joining us in studio this morning. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's
Happy to be here.
Yeah, and it's such an important conversation to have,
Yeah,
so thank
definitely.
you. So take me back to last fall when you were diagnosed with cancer. You heard the words, you have cancer. Do you remember what went through your mind at the time?
Yeah, getting that phone call was definitely one of the most surprising phone calls of my life. Leading up to that point, I had a ton of tests done, and I didn't think anything of it. I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm fit. I was a professional athlete 2 months before, and getting that phone call changed everything, right? Like, I don't know what I was thinking exactly. I think I was just thinking one foot in front of the other. Like, I didn't have any information. When you're first diagnosed with cancer, you don't know anything, just that you have cancer. So I think I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself. I was at work. I'm a firefighter. So I kind of leaned into that, told the guys at work. They rallied around me. I stayed there for the day, hoping that just, maybe giving back or going to calls or helping someone else out would just help me get through that day until I had more answers. But it was definitely very scary and very eye-opening that it could happen to someone like me.
So what do the next weeks and months look like for you?
A lot of late nights, a lot of no sleep. My wife and I just trying to do the best we can. My dad actually passed away from cancer when I was 16.
I'm sorry.
So I kind of relied on that, right? Like, what did I do then? And that was one foot, one day at a time, trying to do as many normal activities as I could. And then it was just testing, CTs, MRIs, trying to figure out how far it spread until final diagnosis was stage 2. And from there, I got my plan. Chemo, radiation, this is what we'll do moving forward. And that almost gave me peace, knowing that we had answers. Exactly.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get that plan?
About 2 months.
About 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh, you talk about your wife, you credit your wife, your teammates, your firefighter colleagues for really getting you through the last year. What has that support meant to you?
Yeah, it means everything. One of the first thoughts I had was, I have so much love and support. I think it's going to be overwhelming. And then you realize what a cancer diagnosis actually means, and you don't have any aspect of yourself. But having the firefighters step up, they covered my shifts, and the Toronto Scepters did a game for me to support me. Having all that meant everything to me and meant I could just focus on my cancer treatment.
And to get better. You were 32 at the time of your diagnosis. That is unfortunately not so young or so rare anymore. What do you want other young people to know about cancer?
I think for other young people, my main message is, if you feel off, if something's wrong, go get checked. I think for myself, I wouldn't have gone and get checked out. My teammates encouraged me and said, this could be something. Go to your family doctor, have them look at it. And fortunately, my family doctor pushed me through. But I think sometimes as young people, we don't want to be a nuisance or we don't want to be annoying. But, there's a lot of bravery in being able to ask and advocate for yourself. So go get checked out. And, you never know.
You never know.
Early detection can save lives.
Absolutely. I want to switch gears a little bit. The PWHL is gearing up for a 3rd season. As a former Toronto goaltender, what are your thoughts heading into the season?
I'm just really excited. I played in the inaugural season.
Yeah,
the fans
so
were
cool.
amazing. Yeah, and I think it's just going to push forward. The more we invest in women's sports, the fans have shown up in troves, and I'm just excited to see my ex-teammates go out there and perform and just get to focus on the on-ice.
Yeah, so fun. This Saturday, you're going to be lacing up for the Road Hockey to Conquer Cancer event in support of Princess Margaret Cancer Center. What does this event mean to you now?
Yeah, this past year I've seen firsthand how important early detection is, how important treatments are, how important support is. And I think for me, my plan was clear as soon as I walked into that doctor's office, and that's because of all the treatment and all the research that had gone into it. And the Princess Margaret is a leader in that. So now being able to be post-cancer journey, looking back on it and participate, it means everything to me, especially alongside some of my teammates. Renata Fast, Blair Turnbull's gonna be there, they'll be playing. And along my firefighters, they've put in a team too. So it just means everything to be able to pay it forward.
You have an awesome support system around you.
I do.
How are you feeling today?
I feel way better. The last 4 weeks, definitely, I was in a fog there where it's like, is this gonna get better? When am I gonna feel better? But the last 4 weeks have definitely been better. I've been putting back the pieces of my life and trying to find my new normal.
Erica, thank you for stopping by today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It's the story of how Bumble became what it was. It's Whitney Wolfe Herd's story. And in 2021, she became the youngest self-made female billionaire at the age of 31 when she launched Bumble and it went public.
Yeah.
But her story prior to that is what this film Swiped is about, how she co-founded Tinder, the challenges she experienced as a woman in tech, and then why, because of her experience at Tinder, she wanted to make Bumble what it was. And that app's still successful today.
It's so interesting to think about the evolution of dating.
Oh my goodness,
right? Because
yeah.
like back when Drew and I met, which was, you know, like over 20 years ago, that wasn't a thing.
No, you would like meet the meet
through
cute.
people or like, you know, through school. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then sort of, I remember when it first got introduced, there was that concept, you're like, oh, gross. Like, why would you do that?
And online dating wasn't for everybody. At
That's
that
right.
point, it was for a certain generation, and Tinder changed the game. They brought it to a younger group of people. They talk about this in the film. It's fascinating thinking about that. But then Bumble also changed it because Tinder became like this hookup site, right? And for a lot of people, it felt gross and they didn't want to be there. Bumble was something different.
Yeah, she kind of built a better product. And I actually, I met my partner on Bumble.
No way.
Online dating. Yeah. I met on there and we're still together.
What
and
did your
so,
profile say? Do you remember?
I
want to know and what picture did you pick?
Oh, I didn't pick pictures that misrepresented me, but I do remember one of the pictures I had was from when we were shooting Mighty Trains in Sweden. We were shooting a freight train that took lumber. So it was a picture of me in like a hard hat, standing like this in front of lumber.
Manly.
Like couldn't be less like I actually am, but then I tried to have some that actually represented me. But you really do have to like curate your pictures.
I'm
and
so
everything.
curious at that because there are certain like there's commentators out there that'll be like, okay, you have to pick this kind of picture and not this kind of picture. Like, don't do the picture with the animal. Like
don't do the animal picture.
Apparently, like don't do the one with the pet.
Right.
And if don't put like a group picture up because nobody knows which one you are.
Oh, right. And if there are like much better looking people in the group, it's a disappointment.
Yeah, boo. Like, why would you do that?
You could never be a disappointment.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. But how was chatting with Lily? Was it great?
No, it was great.
Yeah?
She, like, you get to chat with so many people in this career, which is really, really cool. And sometimes you have, like, instant chemistry with people that you meet.
Yeah.
And I think if we were, like, regular people, we would totally be besties.
Oh, besties.
But we bonded over our love of singing.
Did you break into song at all?
No.
Is that like your dream
no.
to all of a sudden do a duet with somebody you're interviewing?
Not while I'm interviewing,
Really?
no. No, you know that I, like, take singing very seriously. I can't just do it.
Yeah, theater
Do you
kid.
ever sing? Because you're a drummer. Do you sing like backups?
I try, but I'm not very good at it.
But did they give you a microphone or they're like, not for you?
Not anymore. One band I played in, they told me I talked too much in between sets, so I wasn't allowed to have the mic anymore. In between songs.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
So, no singing, but lots of chatting. Here's my conversation with Lily. Her name has been in the headlines for years, and now her story is coming to your screen. In 2021, Whitney Wolfe Herd became the world's youngest self-made female billionaire after she took her app Bumble public. Before that, she helped launch Tinder, a company she later sued for sexual harassment after resigning. lilyjames transformed into the role of Herd in her brand new movie Swiped, and I recently had the chance to sit down and chat with her about it. Take a look.
I don't think they list you as a co-founder. I built Tinder with them. They can't just delete me. I'm done following the rules. We need to change dating.
Lily, thanks so much for talking with us today.
Thank you.
In the film, you play Whitney Wolfe Hurt. So she's the founder of Bumble. She had been at Tinder, started there, resigned in 2014, and then filed a lawsuit against them for sexual harassment. And that case was settled. She signed an NDA, so she couldn't comment on her experiences there. And she's not involved in the making of this story. So I want to ask you, how did you do your research for this character, and how did you really sink into the role?
I love preparing for roles. I love beginning to sort of lose myself in a character and learn as much as I possibly can and sort of become an expert in that kind of field or whatever it is when you're preparing. And I watched everything I could of Whitney and learned about her and read about her so that I could try and capture the essence of whatever it is that feels important in terms of bringing her to the screen and our version of Whitney.
It is a problem if it starts driving women away. I mean, no, it's kind of hard to run a dating app without them.
Yeah, I mean, we need to be practical, not emotional.
There's a line in the film where she says, "How about I go first?" And it's this moment of like confidence and agency. And I wondered, has there ever been a moment for you in your career where you've said, "I got this"?
Well, actually, it was brilliantly kind of kismet in that this role came to me and then I came on as a producer and simultaneously I was building my production company, and so there felt like this moment where I was kind of at the same time as playing Whitney and trying to portray her incredible legacy. I was also building my own company, so there was this sense where I was like, oh, I've got this, I'm in this, I know what I want to do with this, and this really matters to me, and that felt very empowering.
Was there inspiration?
Yeah,
there?
Great inspiration. I've been so inspired by playing Whitney, and I really, I was so struck by the script when I read it. I couldn't believe I didn't know this story, and I couldn't believe the way in which she channeled her experiences into something, the good and the bad, into something so positive and really changed the game for women in terms of how we communicate online, making the internet safer for women, putting women in the driver's seat, and I was like so inspired by this story, and that's my ambition with this film, is that our viewers feel the same as I did when I read the script.
I built Tinder with them. If they can just delete me, it's like they've done nothing wrong.
You say anything, they can sue.
Do not take the bait.
What is it about producing that is so appealing about that role?
I really just wanted to have agency in the storytelling. Sometimes it's so great just to turn up as an actor and you can just, all you have to think about is getting there and, being in the moment and telling the story in terms of acting. But with this, I really wanted to be involved in all the choices, the creative choices, and then in the edit, the kind of incredible experience of really putting a film together. And to be involved in that really in the first time with such kind of in earnest was so exciting. And we had such an incredible team on this movie and producers that have been building this for the last 7 years. And so it was just great to all link arms and tell this story.
What is this big secret project you are developing?
We need to change the rules of online dating.
You've spoken about being inspired by artists who can jump genres. And you've done that in your own career. You've got this fearlessness as you transition from role to role, and you've been called the ultimate chameleon. So I wonder, is there any sort of character or genre that you're excited to sink your teeth into that you haven't yet?
Yeah, so much. I feel like I'm just getting started. I'm doing an action movie next, which will be really fun. I love doing physical stuff, getting in my body and outside of my head. And I really want to sing more. It's like, was my first love really as a kid. And so I definitely have ambition to do more musical projects.
The light in your eyes when you said that, I'm a singer too.
Really?
And yeah, growing up, my parents used to always say, like, when I was happy, I was singing.
That's exactly what my family said to me.
Oh my God.
They can tell because I just be like singing as I do stuff and around the house. And I think it connects to your heart, your emotions, because you have to be so open to sing. And I think it's really, I feel the same.
Yeah, well, I hope that for you too. I hope we get to see you sing more. Well, I'm sure thankful that we got to see you in person today, Lily.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks for the conversation.
Thank you so much.
Fight for what you've built. My name's Whitney Wolfe, and I'm starting a revolution.
And you can catch Lily James and Swiped on Disney Plus. It's out right now.
All right, we're so glad that you joined us today.
If you want more of these great conversations, don't forget to download or hit subscribe to Your Morning, the podcast. We're on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you're listening in right now.
And of course, we'd love for you to watch us live every weekday morning on CTV, CTV News Channel, and the CTV News app. Start your morning with us.